do a quick welcoming before we get started here. First of all, thanks, as I mentioned, for being here. We're very excited to welcome you to our very first Miyawaki Forest. This is the one we're going to be talking about, and the one that's installed is first. We did the second one over at Plumley Village. That came shortly thereafter. But before I do anything else, I want to talk just a little bit about what we're doing here. I want to thank a few people. First of all, I want to thank Evelyn Hurwitz, who is here today. Put up your hand. Yay! Her vision that made this possible. She came to us with the idea, the very first idea, in the first place, and then we said that is an excellent idea, and let's make that happen. And then the people that made it happen. First of all, I want to thank our city manager, Eric Batista. He played a key role in greenlighting this. Our Department of Sustainability folks, in particular, Lou Zarova and Jesse Davis in the back, helped coordinate all this. They're awesome. The BSC group, Access in the back, and Casey Lee here, who will be doing the presentation. They were awesome as well. Bio for Climate, they were a subcontractor for the BSC group. And of course, the Jam Corporation, who did some of the hard removing of the original paving and laying out of some of the material that we used. And so I want to thank them too. So you might know about the Joni Mitchell song. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Well, in this case, we just did the opposite. We took back a piece of a parking lot and put in a slice of paradise. By the way, I stole that line from Evelyn. So that's just for anyone who's counting. That's two things. We took both her idea and her promo tagline. So pretty cool on our part. So we're very glad you came here today. We hope you learned a lot from this presentation about how this whole process worked. Why we're excited, not just about what we did here and over at Plumley Village, but how this sets up for us and for you guys to help participate in future Miyawaki forests and related green infrastructure projects we have for the city. And not only for the city, but for those of you who aren't from Worcester, to take that to your own communities across Massachusetts, New England, etc. Learn from that. Hope you get inspired by it so that you can build more and more of these kinds of projects throughout. So with that, I wanted to introduce Casey Lee from the VSC group. He's going to review the process here, and then afterwards at around 4:30, give or take, we'll be able to have some of that pizza and to go out and check out the forest as well. So there'll be an opportunity, I believe, after this for a couple of quick questions that we can do both either here or out there. So please hold them to the end so that we can get through this. And thank you again.
Thank you. I'll add a number of you are here through invitation of the BSLA's Inside Out program, monthly series of works looking at landscape and landscape architecture in the field. We've just given credit to a bunch of people, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. This is the city's project. This is your project. This was a community build, a community plan, and a community effort. So thank you all, especially those who stood out in the mud and carried plants with us. First, a little background on the idea. So a lot of people have asked, Miyawaki forest, what's that mean? So Akira Miyawaki, Japanese botanist, and one of the things is he goes out to these monastery gardens. Everything is perfect. But in and around them, there are also these preserves of natural forest. And because of the monastery, these are preserved. And he's talking to the monks and he says, they say to him, look, our garden is a reflection of the truth we find in nature. He says, wow, that's really missing from modern living. That's missing in the city. I need to find a way to bring that back. It's a native plants. And that's not that revolutionary to us right now. When we think of native plants, that's like the standard, right? But he's doing this in the 1970s. And native plants are still weeds. Okay, so everyone's planting foreign plants even there for ornamentals or for timber. And the Nippon Steel Company is also running into it's the 70s, and there's a little bit of a green revolution starting, and they need to cover some of their image. So this is his chance. He says, let me do a forest for a forest stake instead of timber production. This is something to mimic nature and bring back those intrinsic values. And today, we're carrying on that tradition and strengthening it with some of the latest research and ideas from restoration ecology, as well as some of the tools that we have to analyze. So we're looking at big data sets. What are the community impacts? What are the heat island pieces? And we studied dozens of potential sites and looked at them for all the different nature-based solutions that they could get, but which ones would be the best for a Miyawaki forest. From those, we chose 2. These are prototype sites, and the goal is to establish this forest for all of the obvious benefits, but also what the community can learn about it, what it takes to accomplish these, how much does it cost, how do we maintain them, and how will they affect life in the city. Later, we'll go out and visit the one here at the McGrath lot, and we can learn about it in person. So, at a cost pretty comparable to standard landscapes, what we were able to do here is analyze that parking lot and replace a wasted portion of pavement without actually reducing the net parking. They're just really poorly organized. So we reorganize around that, and we can set up this piece of forest, about 6,000 feet, and this provides that piece of shade and some shying effect and buffering. Being close to the center of the city, this has a lot of stewards. So we've got Green Worcester and the Master Gardener and a lot of universities coming and visiting us. This also has good visibility for security and for access, but also a lot of clearance for maintenance. And at this size, the sort of 6,000 feet, say 18 meters wide is probably a safe minimum relative to its ability to stay stable. But it is still an edge forest. It doesn't do all the things that a big forest does, like supporting some of the rare species or some of the massive water storage, but it is a really high energy environment because it's got all of that light, all of that exposure. Just like a city, there's a lot of things moving around in something that's all edge. This also captures a great deal of the stormwater coming off of the McGrath lot, which reduces flood risks for the Canal District that ostensibly begins at Green Island Boulevard there, just by the edge of Polar Park. So there are a lot of benefits beyond the forest to the city itself. This filters the air pollution, moving with prevailing winds up from the railroad and the highway towards some of these cultural centers, the YMCA, the library, and the city common. And it is a prominent first. This is meant to show that we can rewild for a healthy city without giving up the things that we're using. This is a node, and it's something meant to slowly connect wider and wider to the full urban forest. If this stayed an island, it would die an island. We have to use this as a lever to gain that sort of piece. And looking at how things design, this is just a conceptual sketch. If we started applying some of these pieces in other parts of the city, we could change that parking lot, get about 75% canopy, 20% less pavement, and we could probably increase it by about 50 parking spaces. And it's important to know that you cannot do these projects alone. It's wide, it's complex, and the key piece is gathering the community. So that takes a lot of outreach, connecting with local influencers, and going directly to those key groups that will be a part of it. This isn't something you post a flyer and hope for the best. Make real connections. And there are lots and lots of educational resources and books on these sort of things, different things you can use. So I won't go through a whole lot of them, but we've also sort of compiled the pieces that were important to us, and we're publishing with these. This is, again, one of the goals of the MVP program is to network all of the communities so that we're all learning from each other and all benefiting one another. This is what a forest does. We aren't just mimicking the forest in its construction, we are mimicking the spirit of forest. Okay. Before we could do things in a parking lot, we had to do some probing. So it's a city. You can run into some very questionable soils. But fortunately, we poked around, looked at what was there, said, yes, actually, what's here is clean enough that we can amend in place, add the soils and layers we need. So turning what was the base under pavement after it's cut out into a B horizon by amending that in place with wood chip, then bringing in municipal compost of different gradients and grades from different locations. We are using the local soil, the local resources. This is layers and layers of use what you have, make it meaningful. And another piece about this that I run into heavily is that people are pretty good at understanding the trees part. Forest trees, yes, okay? Those top four pieces are pretty obvious because they're out here with us, but understand this and share it. That is the least 5% of your forest. The real creature of your forest is in that top foot of soil. This duff layer where we have the leaves, the dead wood, the fungi, and all of the tiny animals, as well as the root systems. The tops could be blown away. Those root systems would renew the source. When we pave these things, we put it all at risk. One of the lines that I keep hearing about Miyawaki forests is that they grow fast because they're densely planted. That would be an oversimplification. Things grow fast when they have all of the healthy foods and water and care that they need and space to grow, just like any other children. The value in the density of this forest and the layering is that it gives complexity. And complexity needs a story. So this soil and fungus, this duff layer, these buffer everything. And while this planting method is artificially expedited succession, it's still a form of biomimicry, including that density. Things will grow here from generation to generation, and their pieces will need to sort of steward through and add layers in as the right conditions form for them. So this does have different groups of things, and there are a bunch of people studying how it's going to grow. So we have students from University of Delaware and Doug Ptolemy's lab looking at insects for us. The Clark University students are looking at the climate impacts and changes around the forest. And we've got students from the Harvard School looking at tree growth, and we're going to make some connections with others here as well. And one of the big things about our story that we need to share about this and why it functions better than regular landscape is that a forest is not just plants. If we just came in, did nice soil, and planted, that would be a plantation. We are specifically targeting and supporting birds and pollinators as the important piece of this forest community. Even more important and further unsung are our macroinvertebrates. And I've got a little petting zoo waiting outside for you guys to poke around in and find your bug. But I'm sure someone has come door to you like they have to me asking if I'd like mine sprayed. Boy, do I give them an earful. But this is about the benefits to the community. And those animals and creatures are members of our community, so when we benefit them, they benefit us back by sequestering things. Now, the plants that we've chosen for this, specifically heavy in rooterol and things that are for riparian areas, because they pick up air pollution. Just because of the location, what we need and what's there. So what you're seeing here is a zoom in on the microfiber hairs under a birch leaf, and those particles that we're seeing there are little bits of hydrocarbon and heavy metals, the kind at the scale that we can digest and become toxic to us. They are capturing specifically to create soil. This is a great combination. Let's work together. Next, we all understand trees provide cooling. Yeah, the shade, yes, the carbon, but the pieces that I'd like to help, two pieces that are less well understood I'd like to help express are the transpiration cooling. So you've been out on a hot, humid day and gone down into the basement and gone, it's so cool here. That pretty constant 49 degrees. Well, our trees, with some of their deeper roots, are constantly cycling that cold water up, passing it through the air. So it's not just under the tree that it's cooler. When we could get 40% tree canopy cover, we would start to get a genuine ambient cool over the entire area. The other one that's a little obscure are some of the volatile organic compounds that our trees putting out, these terpenes and isopenes that help very small particles of water form. So you've got the hot, humid city day where the air is so thick that you're like pulling it open to walk through. Well, our trees help that form into the very small, bright droplets that form light clouds. The easiest spot to see that is on an island. So when hot, humid air is passing over an island, it hits those trees, it hits those chemicals, and the bright clouds form on the other side. So this is reflective heat. This is shade that spreads. But those are the things that other people don't think about. They're thinking about, I'm going to clean up weeds. I think that's enough of these community pieces that I can share with you that aren't as easy to talk about in the field. We'll head out there in a moment, but we want to make sure you have access to all of our resources, so we'll share these slides later, and there'll be some posting of videos that go along with it. You can always visit Green Worcester and visit the Department of Sustainability and Resilience here in Worcester. Thanking my multitude of project partners and team members. And we invite you outside for a site tour. We will have a scavenger hunt of creatures and forest features, because our forest is an urban housing project as well as some fun swag things, and we will feed you. Thank you. That's all I want to do.
And so if there's already quick questions now, happy to entertain them. If not, that's fine too. We can usually pop up as you start walking away. But we have one now.
I'm sure you had goals and expectations when you planted. How do you feel about things 1 year in? Are you happy?
Relieved. Here, plant me a forest in one of the harshest locations you could possibly describe on the planet. Something totally unique and unforest-like. A parking lot. This has a lot more relationships maybe to a rocky coast than it does to a Worcester natural forest. But it's working. And this is a first here, but it's the culmination of lots and lots of people's work. So it's not just my research, this is the layers of what we pulled together, what other people have pulled together from the team, and then talking with the people who understand the site best about how it can serve.
Yeah, so I can speak from the Worcester perspective. We're very excited about it. It's actually met or exceeded our expectations to date. So that's honestly, we didn't have the highest of expectations when we first started this process. For reference, Cambridge had put the first Miyawaki forest in Massachusetts. They put it in a park. We decided that this should be a learning experience for what we really want to do. And what we really wanted to do was not put these in parks, because parks already have trees. We wanted to do two things. We wanted, one, to have a public-private relationship with a public-private entity so that we could see how we could make this beyond, or put these in places beyond just city-owned property, which is why we partnered with the folks at Plumley Village, so we could see how that relationship could work and how we could manage that. And then we also were very worried about the heat island effect in particular. We picked probably, as Casey Lee intimated, the harshest spot in Worcester right now. There's two. There's the one right behind City Hall on the plaza there. That's actually number one. This was 1B. They're within like a 10th of a degree on a really hot day. We measured the temperatures for each of them. So they were ranging from like, I think 17, 18 degrees hotter on average than we had some of our cooler spots in the city. So it's a really big spread, this being one of the most challenging. So we're also looking, saying, if we're gonna do this, let's put it in a place that's gonna actually have a real impact and where we would learn the most from. And so that was the part of the inspiration to say, okay, what's the worst spot that we can put it in? And we said there, and then Evelyn, to her credit, said, you should really put it at the behind McGrath parking lot. And she had a whole bunch of good reasons, and then we all just decided, well, if Evelyn said it, then that's what we're doing. And so that's what we did.
It's nice to be able to put it off on somebody.
Yeah, totally.
Done about 7 of these, all in unique places and in different ways, but that's been a consistent theme, is what we're looking for are where can wildland replace wasteland. We're really good at wasting land. It just became the thing to do. You didn't have to do the most efficient design, you just had to make sure it was all clear and flat and controlled. And that's been a story, since feudalism? We're ready for a new story.
Sure. All right, any other questions? One in the back?
Yeah, just really quickly, where would be the next target place if this proves to be a success, which it seems to be right now? Where would be the next spot you'd be looking for if you wanted to expand this?
I got an answer, but you
I've got an answer too.
Let's
Okay, so my answer is that as a sister to this project, we were also doing a Cool Pockets program. So looking at ways in which we can apply a series of nature-based solutions and many of the principles that we've developed through the Miyawaki forest to spaces that aren't, hey, let's turn this into a forest. These are places, no, people need to be in and out of and have functions. Can we combine that so that it stops being the wilderness is over there? Even when we make a wilderness, now it's still this, it's the end. Like, no, I need you to be the wild. We want the city to be a living thing.
So I'll riff off that, because I think that's exactly right. I mean, that was why we joined the two concepts together. I'll introduce another one that we're also working on, which is, Miyawaki Forest and other green infrastructure, one of their big attributes is not just on the heat island, reducing the heat island effect, but also in terms of stormwater management. Green infrastructure, very clear, it doesn't do what gray infrastructure can do. Gray infrastructure will always have a place. It's just, the volumes of water that we have now and are only going to be increasing due to climate change for ever more powerful and more intense storms. And we were just talking earlier about what happened in Leominster and of course up in Vermont and parts of New Hampshire just a couple of years ago. We missed that by how many miles? 20 miles, 25 miles. So it's not when, if it's going to happen, it's just when it's going to happen. So that's the question. So Miyawaki Forest and green infrastructure can help us manage that and do it in a way that are much more thoughtful than what we've done in the past. So we can not only manage the green infrastructure, but we can make that so that it works, makes the gray infrastructure work better. We get it too perfect. And so we're looking at modeling how our city works for our stormwater, so we can identify where the best places to put green infrastructure would be, including Miyawaki Forest and others, so that we can maybe see if we can get not just 2 forests like we were referencing, but maybe 3 and 4 and 5 forests, where we get benefits for community building, we get benefits for heat island effect, stormwater management, etc. So all that comes into play, and it really comes down to getting the data in place so that we can make these smart decisions. We're starting that process now, but we hope in the next couple, 3 years that we can build on that so that we can really make some excellent decisions and involve people from the community, both who are experts, but as well as people who are lay people in this, but are just genuinely interested in this, because that's what helps us drive this, and so that we not only do the one, but then there's always an expectation we're going to do the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and pretty soon you get to see what that map showed, where we have that vision of all the trees in place. I mean, that was an inspirational picture right there, because it was like, that's ultimately what the goal is. And the only way that happens is if we do it together. So,
what, where? The Columbus Park Elementary School is the next where.
Okay.
yeah, so that was the target.
As well as 8 of the rain gardens in parks and recreation areas around the city.
Yeah, we're targeting there first, but there's a few others. So I know I want to keep the conversation going. I see 2 questions, but I also see the time. So I'm thinking we should probably head out now, and then we can keep those questions in mind, don't lose them, and we can answer them when we get outside. So with that, thank you, and we'll see you out there.